Good morning once again. Come on, don't fall asleep yet. Good morning. Good morning. So much better. The Lord be with you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This morning our gospel lesson comes to us from the Gospel according to St. Luke chapter 21. And we are going to read and hear together verses 25 to 36 of Luke chapter 21. 25 through 36. If you would please stand in body or in spirit as we read the Gospel of our Lord together. Luke 21, beginning in verse 25. And here's what it says. There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and on the earth distress among nations, confused by the roaring of the sea and wave. People will faint, fear and foreboding of what is coming upon the world. The powers of the heavens will be shaken, and they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now when these things begin to take place, stand up and raise your head, because your redemption is drawing near. Then he told them a parable. Look at the fig tree and all the trees. As soon as they sprout leaves, you can see for yourselves and know that summer is already near. So also, when you see these things taking place, you know that the kingdom of God is near. Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have taken place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. Be on guard, so that your hearts are not weighed down with dissipation and drunkenness and the worries of this life, and that day catch you unexpectedly like a trap. For it will come upon all who live on the face of the whole earth. Be alert at all times, praying that you might have the strength to escape all these things that will take place, to stand before the Son of Man. And this is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. You may be seated. So I don't know that many of you know me very well just yet, but some of you have already learned that I'm a pretty big fan of the writings of J.R.R. Tolkien and of their translations onto the big screen. Now, I am admittedly less enthused with the cinematic Hobbit trilogy than I am with the Lord of the Rings, but I do love both, as Christy will tell you, and I do revisit them from time to time. And not too long ago, as I was watching, one particular scene caught my attention. It's the one found in The Return of the King, the third installment of the Lord of the Rings movies, wherein the wizard Gandalf is standing atop the kingly city of Minas Tirith with Pippin the Hobbit. Looking into the distance, they see jutting forth from the landscape a shadowy and fiery Mount Doom, the place to which their friends Sam and Frodo had gone in an attempt to destroy the Ring of Power. Now, you don't have to know anything about what I just said to understand this. Quietly, Pippin asks the wizard, "Is there any hope for Frodo and Sam?" To which Gandalf replies, "There never was much hope. Just a fool's hope." Wow! Thanks for the pep talk there, Gandalf. I mean, really, what he says doesn't seem to be very encouraging at all. Couldn't he have said that everything would come out okay? Couldn't he have assured the little hobbit that his kinfolk would be all right? Yeah. But that really isn't the nature of hope. So Gandalf answers his friend in the only way that he can, in the way that's honest, in the way that's true. Because he doesn't know precisely what will happen to Frodo and Sam, and they're in such danger that really there isn't much hope. But there is a fool's hope. There's a great irony to the Advent season, which begins today. Because it's a preparatory season that readies us for and leads us into Christmas, we find that many round about us are jolly and cheerful. Stores are decorated in red and green, and strings of lights envelop our homes, but opposite the parties, and opposite the presents, opposite the caroling, in the midst of which words like merry and happy are frequently found on our lips, there are many with much less to sing about. There are many. And not just in poverty-stricken or developing nations, but there are many here on our own doorstep, in the shadow of our steeple, who have a much harder time locating, finding, hanging on to hope. Even a fool's hope. Now I'm in person for a second. In recent days, I've seen posts on Facebook from a couple of my friends, both of whom are single mothers who have no idea how they're going to make Christmas happen for their children. Now, make no mistake, they're hard workers. One of them even has a couple of jobs. And they're not wasteful. They largely shop in thrift stores, and they buy the store brand groceries. They have cars that are on their last leg. They use prepaid cell phones. In other words, they're not wasting what they have. The reality of our nation's economic climate is that even those who break their backs to make ends meet still sometimes come up short. I spoke with one of them the other day, and she admitted that she didn't know what to do. She wants to give her son a good Christmas, but she also has to pay the bills and keep food this time. She's almost lost hope. So what do we say to people like my friends? Now, how do we speak to their struggles in meaningful ways? Well, I think it has to begin with acknowledging that Christ is our hope. Christ is the hope of all people. And I think it also has to start with letting them know that in Christ one can find rest, because He not only understands our travail, but also is bigger than anything that stands before us. Those are important, necessary, needful truths to uphold. But I suppose what I want to know is, how are those truths made real? How are those truths made tangible? Because how do those truths, by themselves, simply spoken, how do they affect any sort of real change? Fact is, by themselves, they don't. Just words, they don't. Which is why St. James says that the words aren't enough. It isn't enough, in other words, to see someone who's hurting and wish them well and then be on your way. Because pointing to God's promises is part of our task. But it's only part. Because the other part is embodying God's promise. The other part is living God's promises, living into them and living them out. Because God does work miraculously, but much more often God works through people. through people who are vessels for the accomplishment of the divine will, which just may be, I don't know how you think about it, but it just may be the most miraculous thing of all. God would work through you, through me. Think of the stories from biblical lore. When God desired the Hebrews to be emancipated from Egyptian bondage, God sent a person. God sent Moses. When God needed someone to stand for Israel against the Philistine oppressors, God sent a person. God sent David. When Christ was crucified and subsequently resurrected, God, through Jesus, assigned someone the task of sharing that good news. And God sent a person. God sent Mary Magdalene. And when God has a word for God's people, God has spoken time and again through people. Through the prophets. Through Amos and Deborah and Anna and Isaiah and even Jeremiah. But in all of this, we see a remarkable truth. That God ordinarily accomplishes what God designs to do through people. Through imperfect, regular, run-of-the-mill, and let's be honest, not always excited about the task people. To say it another way, Christian hope is not built upon a set of ideas or upon something. Christian hope is built upon someone. And it's built upon none other than Christ Jesus, in whom all that is good has its basis and meaning, and without whom all would be empty and worthless. In the words of theologian Daniel Migliore, Christians hope in the triumph of the love of God over all hate, of the justice of God over all injustice, of God's freedom over all bondage, of community with God over all separation, of life with God over the power of death. And yet this hope becomes indistinguishable from cheap optimism if it fails to share the present agony of this world. If it fails to share the burden, share the heaviness, share the burden. And so we, in other words, you and I, we are to be the facilitators of that hope to which we say we cling, and in which we say we trust. We are to be facilitators of that hope which we say is found through God in Christ. Which is, I believe, part of the reason for St. Paul's admonition to the church at Thessalonica. He speaks of their hearts being strengthened in holiness such that they might be blameless. But then he says what it looks like. When he says it means increasing and abounding in love for one another and for all. You know, we read in St. Luke's Gospel this morning about the various signs which Jesus says will point to God's kingdom being near. And yet, as those who are stewards of the gospel and stewards of the hope which it brings, I'm kind of inclined to think that we are those signs. That we are those signs, those living signs of God's kingdom being near. But Jesus speaks of distressful signs that will cause people to faint from fear. But then he speaks of the coming of the Son of Man as bringing redemption to the people. And he uses a parable about budding trees to depict how obvious the kingdom's nearness will be when we see signs of life. When we see signs of hope, and we know that the kingdom is at hand. So when we, in the name of Christ, offer to those around us such signs of life, we bring the kingdom near. We move the kingdom closer. When we, in the name of the righteous branch, stand for righteousness and work for justice, we bring the kingdom near. We move the kingdom closer. When we seek to increase and abound in love for one another and for all, we bring the kingdom near. We move the kingdom closer, and in so doing, hope is ended. Still we know, don't we? We know that hope in the midst of turmoil might appear foolish to some. And maybe even feel foolish to us in certain moments. When circumstances seem most severe, when we can't possibly know the exact outcome. When our hope is grounded in Bethlehem's child, grounded in the one who was crucified and was also resurrected, then, dear friends, even the tiniest shred of hope is more than sufficient to sustain us. More than what we need to make us true. It may be just a fool's hope, but if it's placed in Christ, and if it's lived through Christ, then it's more, much more